What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Friday, heading into a holiday weekend. Hope everybody's having a great start to their Friday for the long weekend. Talking Titans this morning and continuing our wide receiver conversation. We talked a lot about Treylon Burks yesterday on Thursday and how he can take the next step in becoming the Titans' go-to wide receiver one. But now, what about the guys behind Treylon Burks? So we'll discuss a couple comments that new offensive coordinator Tim Kelly had about the wide receiver position as a whole. And in my opinion, he's putting all of that on his shoulders this season moving forward. So we'll discuss what Tim Kelly had to say and get our thoughts on that. Plus, ask you guys your opinion on which Titans receiver will have the biggest impact this season behind Treylon Burks. There's a few options that to pick from. Not a lot of guys have a ton of production in the NFL going into this season, but they're going to be relied upon quite a bit from the Titans receiver room, as they are rated the worst receiver room by most national NFL pundits. So Zach, welcome in. We're also going to wrap things up this week with a good news on a Friday. So get ready for your good news to share around with everybody. But welcome in. Let's have a great show.
Yeah, long weekend on the horizon for Memorial Day on Monday. So we hope everybody has a long, nice weekend. I don't know how many people are working, but we're grinding away here on this Friday morning talking Titans. We got great topics ahead and good news. So get your good news ready to go. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you covered there. We will tweet out segment by segment our YouTube link on our Twitter at A to Z Sports. Give us a follow there. That always is a good follow. If you are a Titans fan, we've got tons of content going out from all of our different writers and Buck and Sam and ourselves when it comes to Titans coverage. And we are in the heart of May, June Titans coverage with OTAs and mini camps on the horizon. So follow us there at A to Z Sports. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on the road to 15,000. We got to get there. How we get there is you guys hit that subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, please like this show. It's very easy. You can, I think, turn your phone and like the show, or even swipe down, like the show if you're on YouTube, or just hit the like button if you're watching on your desktop. But like this show, that helps the algorithm and gets more Titans fans involved and grows our community. What's going on Facebook, Facebookers, the real OGs that have been here since day one. Bottom left corner of your screen, sharing out of public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing on this show. Share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed, and how that works is you guys share the show. So a lot to get to. Let's get this party started on a Friday.
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media, as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter timeline. And hit us up on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage. Our sponsors make this thing happen, and they help out you guys as well, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That's better coverage, rates, and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping you safe online and getting a 2-week free trial when you use our link aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer serving Middle Tennessee for over 18 years in Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. So, Zach, we talked a ton yesterday about Treylon Burks and what his next step as a Titans wide receiver is in year 2. You think Treylon Burks needs to show that dog in him a little bit more to become wide receiver 1. I think he has to show up every day. And so that's kind of what we discussed at length yesterday. But now it's about who else is behind Treylon Burks, because the highest draft pick on this roster at the wide receiver position outside of Burks is Chris Moore, who is a 29, 30-year-old receiver who was a 4th-round draft pick several years ago. And then you've got Kyle Phillips as a day 3 pick. You've got NWI undrafted, Racing McMath, the 6th-round pick, and a couple other groups of undrafted to go along with rookie 7th-rounder Colton Dowell. So Zach, there's a lot of question marks about this group as a whole, and it's probably the biggest storyline about this franchise going into these summer workouts and practices.
Well, look, they were absolute, utter garbage last year. Trashola. I mean, they were so bad. And Tim Kelly was a part of that. Let's be honest. Tim Kelly was a part of that. Now, he was not calling the full plays. He was not the offensive coordinator, but he was a part of it. There's some responsibility of, listen up, being bottom 5 in the league in receptions. This is the team. Bottom 5 in the league in yards. Okay? Bottom 5 in the league in touchdown catches for teams in the NFL. Bottom 5 in the league in receiving first downs. All bottom 5 in the league comes from passing game coordinator Tim Kelly and Todd Downing's offense. Now, things have changed since then. Robert Woods is no longer on the team. Now, things have stayed the same since then. Traylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, NWI are still retained and still on this roster as a wide receiving core. But these are just the straight facts, homie. So, look, you can look at glass half empty or glass half full. You could sit there and say, well, man, the ceiling's extremely low. That means Tim Kelly can soar past that by improving some of those statistical columns that I just mentioned. Or you could look at it and say, what's going to change? It's the same group of wide receivers they had last year. Now, health was a factor. I'm not going to ignore that. And there is also a familiarity that is valued in second-year wide receivers and wide receivers that have been in a system for multiple years. You could say that transfers over. Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill are still on the roster. They're still leading the team and leading the offense. The offensive line has improved. So those are some glass half full type ideas. Yeah. But overall, on paper, this wide receiving core is god awful.
Yeah, it is, and it's unproven. That's
just on paper, though.
Yeah,
nothing always works on paper, right?
Sure, and I do see this comment because Malachi brings up on Facebook the biggest issue has changed. Todd Downing is no longer with the organization, and then another comment to go along with that is that Chris Bork on Facebook says anyone is better than Todd, Robert Woods, and Dennis Daly. Can only
fair
go up.
Points.
And I think from what I can hear and what I'm listening to, reading into, I've only seen one practice, so I can't take everything into that. But from what it sounds like is that Tim Kelly has a lot of his fingerprints on this offense, and there really wasn't as much last year when he was the pass game coordinator, and it feels like a lot of changing is being made. I've seen several players talk about the just verbiage of the play calls of going from, Chris Sims has told us in the past about how long the John Gruden play calls could be of a couple sentences. That's what Todd Downing's play calling sounded like based off of what players are saying. And now they're going into one-word play calls. So one-word play calls, it's a lot faster and a lot simpler once you get it all down. So it does, tempo is being an aspect in this. So it does feel like a lot of things are changing from that standpoint with Tim Kelly. Now you got to prove it, right? And the wide receivers, you knew it was a problem last year. You knew you had to address it in the offseason. You cut Robert Woods, who was set to make $12+ million this season, who's not worth it. And you go sign a guy in Chris Moore, who had the same production as Robert Woods a year ago for about an eighth of the price. And then you're like, okay, fine. Draft. You're going to draft a wide receiver pretty high. No, you don't draft a wide receiver until Colton Dowell at 228 overall. And so now you're like, all right, what's the plan? Well, it's Burks. It's some of these other guys. And, there was an interesting question asked to Tim Kelly on Tuesday. This was before OTA practice about why does Tim Kelly think he has enough at the wide receiver position? It was a follow-up because earlier the question was asked, do you think you have enough at wide receiver? And Tim Kelly just said, yeah. So the follow-up happened, and here's what we got.
Do you have enough at receiver right now?
Yeah.
Why do you feel comfortable that you have enough at receiver?
Because I've seen these guys play. I've seen these guys make plays in big games. You want to talk about Nick Westbrook, you can go watch the Washington Redskins or the Commanders film, last year when he went up and made a huge play for us. You want to talk about Kyle Phillips, you can go and watch the New York Giants film when he caught a play or a blowout at the end of the 2-minute drive to put us in position to win the game. You want to talk about Traylon Burks, you can go ahead and watch the Cincinnati Bengals game when he went up over the top on that deep ball. I mean, there's examples. You can turn on the Cowboys game and go watch Racy. You can watch all the catches that Chris had. There's enough examples of all these guys making plays at this level. It's just our job to make sure that we can get them to do it consistently.
So look, that's Tim Kelly. He's going back in the recall and listing all the plays, the select few plays that these guys have made, because they haven't had
select.
a select few.
That is a good term right there.
Yeah, select few plays that these guys have made. And so, Zach, I want us to react to that because Tim Kelly said a lot of things there. And I have a strong opinion on his approach to answering that question. And I want to get how you feel about it as well. So reacting to that Tim Kelly comment here in a second. But first, let me tell you guys all about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute. Bone and Joint TN.org is where to go. We're actually going to give away some Tennessee Vols tickets this upcoming season with the Bone and Joint Institute. So get ready for that. But whenever you get hurt in life, where you turn is to who you trust, and you can get healthy and trust the Bone and Joint Institute to help you get to that. Their website is great. It's super easy to use. boneandjointtn.org. You go in there, you click make an appointment. You tell them what part of your body is the problem, and then it sorts out the specialist who are those experts in that specific injury, and then bang, you make an appointment, easy enough. And it's all in one place right there, from beginning to end of your process of getting back to health, right there in Franklin. boneandjointtn.org.
It is eSports. We are powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. I think a lock last night was the Boston Celtics -8. I hit that. I put a large sum of money on it, so I had to get back into the groove after getting back into the States. I had to get back my winnings. And I did. It helped me last night because that was a lock with Boston. There was no way Miami was going to beat them. And so that extends. Now you got Major League Baseball, you got NBA. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports and download the BetMGM app today for new users.
All right, Zach. So we just heard Tim Kelly. He was asked, why do you think the Titans have enough at wide receiver? And he goes through and lists NWI against Washington making a big play down the field. He goes and talks about Kyle Phillips having 60-plus yards in his first ever game against the Giants last year. Racy had a couple catches against the Cowboys. Burks had a nice grab over the top against the Bengals. And all of this is great, right? Like all of those things did happen. But those feel like, like you're grasping at the outlier at some things. And we can talk more about that later on. But what I feel like Tim Kelly is doing is he is putting all the pressure on his shoulders as the offensive coordinator. I heard Tim Kelly, and we can play it again if we need to. I heard Tim Kelly basically saying, yeah, last year the coaching staff didn't get enough out of these wide receivers. And now it's my job now that I have the keys to the offense as the offensive coordinator and play caller. I have the keys to make sure I can unlock and open up some of these talented, unproven guys that you've seen a glimpse of making plays in the NFL. It's up to him. And in my opinion, if it doesn't work out, then I'm going to look at Tim Kelly and say, well, you said it was your job to do this and it didn't happen. So what now? Right. That's my take on it, Zach.
Well, and Andre says, I hate coach speak. And I think we saw a little bit of coach speak. But then Borkington brings up, and, what is he supposed to say? I mean, at this juncture in time, what is he supposed to say? He is literally a employee of the Tennessee Titans, right? Like he can only do so much at this juncture. He's going to have to prove himself. He could not elevate himself middle of the season last year to replace Todd Downing. So now he finally gets an opportunity. He better walk with a big stick. He better walk with some swagger. He earned the job of a putrid, disgusting, stinky, smelly offense that was the Tennessee Titans offensive production of last year. And he got retained and elevated. How he pulled that off, Alakazam. He must be a magician.
Yeah, you walk into Mike Vrabel's office, you shut the door, and you say, "Okay, I'm going to use my inside voice here because I don't want people to hear this." But Todd was terrible last year, and here's all the things I'm going to change, right? And like,
It still does not.
but no, but it's also the ability of.
I don't think that win.
Look, if I'm Tim Kelly, then I go in there and I say, "I was here, I saw it, I saw how bad it was, I saw how Todd Downing did not have a feel."
Why didn't you do anything about it?
But it wasn't his job because we learned
Why
about.
Why did you come to me and say this is what I think we need
to
do?
We don't know if that didn't happen or not. It could have. Maybe Tim Kelly and Mike Vrabel clearly have a connection because we have to remember that when Arthur Smith took the Falcons job, Mike Vrabel reached out to the Texans. He had to ask for permission to interview Texans OC Tim Kelly for the Titans OC job. The Texans said, no, you cannot do that. And it is league rules that for a lateral move, you have to ask for permission. The Texans blocked the Titans from doing that. Mike Vrabel elevates Todd Downing. 2 years later, now Mike Vrabel elevates Tim Kelly to that position he tried to get him for 2 years ago. So Tim Kelly can say, I saw the problems. I was here. It wasn't my job to fix them. My job was to scout forward for the next 2 weeks while Todd was implementing the game plan. And so now I know all the mistakes and all the problems. I know how I can fix
them.
The
passing offense was god awful.
Yeah, I guess he was.
Who's responsible for the passing offense?
He was the offensive coordinator.
Who's also responsible?
Zach, again.
Wait, what do you call him when he was?
The passing game coordinator. He has.
Look, you want to say that again? Because that's what Zach, he was. The passing game was awful. But we have to remember this because what I don't want is the
Todd Downing
excuses.
is the end, though, right? Todd Downing's the end. Todd Downing was Tim Kelly's
the
boss.
End, but there's also shared responsibility. I'm not sitting here and saying that the bad offense was all on Tim Kelly. I don't think he was important to do that. I don't. I agree with you in that sense. But you have to also hold him accountable. I need some accountability here, Austin, from Tim Kelly and his passing game coordinating job of how bad the passing game actually was. I just read you the stats at the beginning of the show.
What is Tim Kelly's job was last year was to game plan, and scout a week ahead. That was what his job and his duties were as pass game coordinator, right? What the Titans do pretty well last season. Opening drives early in the game. The first quarter was their most productive quarter offensively. So if you're saying Tim Kelly,
I think that's surface level. I think what you're doing is I think he had more of a job than just 2 weeks out. Here's my papers. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
No, that's not what I'm saying either.
Well, you're
taking my words and you're stretching them. The main aspect of Tim Kelly's job was forward scouting and game planning, coordinating the passing game. And so when that happens, the first quarter was their most productive quarter. And then once it gets into Todd Downing's hands of adapting on the fly, making in-game adjustments, and the third quarter was abysmal. They only scored over 6 points in the second half like 3 times all last season. That's Todd Downing. That's the play caller where Tim Kelly doesn't have that responsibility. That's adapting on the fly and having a feel for the rhythm of a game, which that was my biggest complaint of Todd Downing. So Tim Kelly's now job is to be able to execute and have that ability in game on top of the week to week aspects of the job too.
I just think that Tim Kelly does have responsibility of last year's offense. We need to understand that. We can move forward. I don't mind doing that, but let's also hold him accountable for what he was a part of last year. I would ask you, I think there is some deflection from you with that. That's all I'm trying to bring up.
Zach, 5 minutes ago, I just said that Tim Kelly is putting all the pressure on his shoulders, right? So I am holding him accountable. I'm saying that his comments this week at OTAs, it's on him. If it fails, Tim Kelly just said it's his job and the position coach's job to get the most out of these players, right? And so if it doesn't happen, then are they bad coaches? Are the players bad? Who is to blame? We have to figure that out, watch it play out. But Tim Kelly just put the accountability on him with his words on Tuesday. That's my point here. I'm talking about last year.
I don't fully agree with that because it will also always resort back to the players. I'll ask you this quick question. This is not the question we're going to ask to the chat. We're going to get to that here in a second. But do you think that this wide receiving core in 2023 right now is better or worse than last year's wide receiving core?
I mean, if you asked me going into it, I thought Robert Woods was going to be a lot better than what he was. And so I have to
Yeah, well, you
say,
could also say it was a product of 1 year or offense. That's why I'm asking you the question.
the offensive line was also maybe worse because of
I'm just talking about wide receiving core.
I mean, I think it's kind of the same. Like knowing what Robert Woods was, I think it's very comparable because a lot of the guys are the same. I think Kyle Phillips has ability, and maybe we'll talk about him a little later on today. But you know, right now they're healthy. And so I have to think that I have to have higher expectations from a year ago. And they relied on rookies a lot last year. They got hurt. Phillips got hurt after having a big first game. That's fact. Traylon Burks got hurt twice. And in between those injuries, you saw what we thought he could be consistently. And then he got the concussion in Philadelphia. So I think right now I have to be the same because Chris Moore and Robert Woods, I think they kind of wash out. Now, Chris Moore's a lot cheaper, but on the field, nobody cares about how much you're being paid.
Well, and I bring that up because I figured the chat was going to say this because they're smart. I thought this is they're going to say, and similar to what you said, is because they're healthy. Austin, in the game of football, this wide receiving core will not stay healthy as a whole through all 16 games, 17 games.
Right.
18 weeks. It won't. My fear, this is my biggest fear for this roster and this team this year, is that if one piece falls, let's say Traylon Burks, what are you working with?
Like, no, I'm with you.
Like Tim Kelly, it doesn't matter what Tim Kelly does or tries to do. If Traylon Burks goes down, and I'm not wishing this upon him, I'm just giving an example, goes down in week 2 for an extended amount of time, I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to be screaming from the rooftops of how bad Tim Kelly is. It's going to be more about the wide receivers and the Titans not setting this offense up for success. So what I'm saying is you are sitting here saying that all of the pressure is being put on Tim Kelly's shoulders. He is saying that it is all on him. And what I'm saying is that's actually not how it's set up.
Well,
it's
obviously,
set up
Zach,
for all of the pressure to be on the organization or the lack of wideouts.
I mean, obviously there are nuances and specifics that happen in a season that shift the blame on whatever goes wrong. Like if injuries happen, then we're sitting here 3 years in a row of the Titans' inability to stay healthy. So now who's to blame there?
But they're not going like.
But
Kyle Phillips or somebody is going to go down for some amount of time. Somebody's going to turn an ankle, twist a knee. It happens. It's not.
Last year, everybody went down except for Robert Woods and NWI.
Maybe not at that clip, right? Like you hope that the injuries the last 2 years have been mind-boggling, right? It's been crazy. I don't think that it will happen like that. But as we said, I think this commenter says, if Traylon Burks, John Doe, who knows who that is, if it doesn't matter if Burks plays all 17 games, I think he says if it doesn't matter, if Burks doesn't play all 17 games, they're screwed. And I kind of tend to agree because there's such a drop-off. And it goes back to the comments that Tim Kelly made. He is pointing out all of the best games of these abysmal players.
Yeah.
Let's just call them, right?
Yeah.
They're somewhat, they're unproven. You could say they're inadequate. You could say a lot of things about these wide receivers, but he's picking out the best attributes of these guys or games, and I think that's unfair.
All right, so there was Tim Kelly was asked a follow-up question about that specifically. So we'll play that video here in a second and also get to you guys and more comments in the chat. But first, let me tell you guys about the Aura app. I downloaded the Aura app about a month ago, and it's keeping me safe online and keeping robocallers and spammers and telemarketers out of my life just because I went to aura.com/ATOZ. If you go to that link, aura.com/ATOZ, then you can get a 2-week free trial for all the services that the Aura app provides. And it's all in one app right there, right? Our sponsor, Aura, will identify data brokers who are exposing your information and automatically submit you out of those data brokers on your behalf, opt you out of junk mail, telemarketing lists, everything else. And they've got every internet safety tool in one app: VPN, password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring. So check them out and use that link, aura.com/ATOZ. Again, you got to use the link aura.com/ATOZ. I'm putting the link right there in the chat now. And then you get a 2-week free trial with aura.com/ATOZ.
BetMGM, they drive our morning show. They can drive you to some wins. Bonus code ATOZ Sports are the king of the sports books. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses for new users. So download the app after the show and put in that bonus code. Make sure you put in the bonus code ATOZ SPORTS. For new users, you get a risk-free bet up, a bonus bet up to $1,000 if you miss. That's huge. So download the app today.
All right, Zach. So you think it's unfair for Tim Kelly to point out the best moments these receivers have ever had?
I don't think it's unfair.
Restate that.
I wouldn't say unfair.
Fair,
I
okay.
would say we need to recognize what is being done. Like you can't sit there and tell this is I'm going to set you up on a date and tell all of the best attributes, right? That's how you kind of set them up. And then you get in there and she's crazy or she's missing teeth or whatever it is. Well, you didn't tell me about that. You never told me about the Nick Westbrook-Akina games that he had goose eggs, because he had, I think, 4 games last year. They had goose eggs that he played in, right? Don't just tell me about the Commanders game.
Yeah. Right.
Goose eggs. That means he had 0 production.
And so let's play Tim Kelly again, and then the follow-up on Tim Kelly that is going exactly where you're headed, Zach.
Do you have enough at receiver right now?
Yeah.
Why do you feel comfortable that you have enough at receiver?
Because I've seen these guys play. I've seen these guys make plays in big games. You want to talk about Nick Westbrook, you can go watch the Washington Redskins or the Commanders film, last year when he went up and made a huge play for us. You want to talk about Kyle Phillips, you can go and watch the New York Giants film when he caught a play or a blow route at the end of the 2-minute drive to put us in position to win the game. You want to talk about Traylon Burks, you can go ahead and watch the Cincinnati Bengals game when he went up over the top on that deep ball. I mean, there's examples. You can turn on the Cowboys game and go watch Racy. You can watch all the catches that Chris had. There's enough examples of all these guys making plays at this level. It's just our job to make sure that we can get them to do it consistently.
So he's not wrong. It is his job to make sure they do it consistently. But then after Tim Kelly spit out all those individual games, including the Racy Cowboys game, the NWI Washington game, again, this was a Paul Kaharski. You got to give him credit. He's been on one this offseason, and Paul had the right follow-up.
You watch the best film of every guy and envision that.
I mean, I think you watch.
You're talking about their games where Nick was dropping balls, where Racy, has 4 career catches or something like that. There's a lot of film that doesn't show what you're talking about. So
what's the question there?
So is it your strategy or your philosophy that you look at the best film and envision that's what a guy is?
Yeah, different than some people. Obviously, focusing on the negative is no way to kind of go through life. So we don't really want to do that, Paul. We want to make sure that we're doing a good job of helping our guys go out there and reach their potential. And again, I think as you turn on the tape, you're able to see these guys make plays, and it's at the highest level of competition. So I've got to do a good job. Our position coaches have to do a good job of making sure that we're able to put those guys in positions consistently to where they can go and win.
I got 2 things on this.
Okay.
First of all, what is Tim Kelly supposed to say, right? Like, he has to support his guys. He didn't sign them. He's not writing their checks. He is asked to do a job based on the position that he coaches and players that he is paid to coach, right? Like, he can't say anything. So Tim Kelly, I understand. It's like a back and forth. Like, I get what you're doing. Okay. So I'm not hating on you for doing it, but I also think that there's some validation of Paul saying, well, Racy McMath, we have no idea who the hell that guy is. Yeah. 0, not 1 iota. So don't even mention him, right? Like, it's that, I think that's very fair from Paul. It's also Nick Westbrook-Akina, and I just looked this up. I was correct. 4 goose eggs last year. 4 of them. There's 4 goose eggs. Under 15 yards receiving in a game, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He had 8 games. We had under 15 receivings. He had a couple of games. He had 4. He had 2 games. He had 4. So he had 4. Today's magic number is 4. 0 goose egg games last year. And he had 2 4-yard games like that. So that is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. So let's talk about his big play games against the Commanders and against the Broncos. The Broncos, he had 119 yards.
Which, by the way, against the Broncos, one of his big plays was a flea flicker. So, like, Dane Cruikshank also caught a touchdown pass from Kevin Byard on a trick play too, right? Like, so what is that?
Let's call it like we see it. Kyle Phillips, yes, he did have a good game against the Giants. But after that, what did he do?
Well, he got hurt, right? Like he came down on his shoulder on that, Tim Kelly brought up the specific catch to put them in that
Don't
spot.
mention it.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of my point. Don't bring up these guys that are, let's just call them what they are. They're unproven. Racing McMath is unproven. NWI, I think we have a sense of who he is. He's not a starting wide receiver. He's a 4th or 5th wide receiver on a football team. That's what he is. Now, he hasn't been that for the Titans because the Titans have needed him to do more. But Racing McMath, let's keep his name out of our mouths until he actually does something worth a damn. Chris Moore is coming into a different situation at as you mentioned, a lower clip than Robert Woods. Mm-hmm. So there's value there. If he can give you 444 yards like Treylon Burks did last year.
Chris Moore had more receiving yards than Robert Woods did last year. And,
right.
And Robert Woods was the leading receiver on the Titans. Chris Moore was second for the Texans behind Brandon Cooks.
So
and both teams
you're not going to have multi-1,000-yard wide receivers on this team. You're not. But you're trying to put together, can Racing McMath give you 350? Can Kyle Phillips give you 450? Can Chris Moore give you 450?
I mean,
can NWI give you 1 or 2 games that he has 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns because he got open? And then can Treylon Burks have over 1,000 yards and then pray to God to the Lords above that Derrick Henry has 1,700 yards?
Yeah, man. You're asking 350 yards from Racing McMath. I'm like, okay, hold on. Let's get 100 first.
But that's kind of what his ceiling is. I'm talking about ceilings. I'm not talking about expectations. I'm talking about those are probably the ceilings of this wide receiving core.
Yeah.
Right?
We know that NWI, his ceiling is just under 500 yards receiving in a year.
With some big play games.
With some opportunities to make plays because nobody's expecting him to make plays.
And some games that he absolutely is not even remotely impactful.
And again, I think you kind of were hinting at it. Like, we're not hating on NWI at all. I think NWI is an undrafted free agent going into year 4, where he's a significant part of the passing game, is a credit to him, right? Like, absolutely. Good for him, right?
This is not NWI's fault.
No.
He's been thrown in a position that he cannot play.
He's over his skis. Is that the term there, Zach?
Yeah, you can't hire a 21-year-old kid out of college that just graduated to be a sales manager over 5 grown-ass men and women who have been in sales for multiple years. That young man is going to fail at sales managing. That's what I kind of asked NWI to do. You can't manage the team. You can't do it.
It's not fair to him, but that's the situation he's in.
It's not fair to the other salespeople either. I can't this 21-year-old kid doesn't have enough experience, and he doesn't have the acumen to do it. NWI needs to be a part of the sales team, right? He needs to be a guy who can go out and make some sales every other month or whatever. But he's not your hard hitter that is going to come in there and flop down on the desk and say, look, I just made $100,000 in sales this month because I'm that dude.
Right. All right, Zach, let's ask this question to the audience. Interesting conversation we've got ourselves into about the wide receivers for the Tennessee Titans. The question is, which receiver for the Titans will have the biggest impact behind Treylon Burks this year? So we talked a lot about Burks yesterday, but now it's the other guys. Which Titans receiver will have the biggest impact this season behind Traylon Burks. But Zach, tell us all about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com can be there for you with your health plan, and you need a health plan, right? Everybody needs a health plan. You got to make sure that you have the right health plan. I got the right health plan in 2022. I have the right health plan in 2023, and that is Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee. If you live in the state of Tennessee, take a deep breath after the show, say, maybe I need to relook at my health plan. Maybe I can save some money. Maybe I can put some more money back in my pocket and improve my health plan. That's what I did. 200 plus locations across the state. However you work. Some people are real shy. They don't want to interact with people. You can go online and apply for a quote. Some people are like me. I need to talk to somebody. I got a lot of questions that need answering. You can call them up on the phone. Visit fbhp.com/A to Z. You can find their phone number there. You can request a quote. Get started. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee.
A to Z Sports with BetMGM. Hey, Zach, what's tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Saturday.
Yeah, that means that all you have to do is log into your BetMGM app and you're going to get a bonus bet for no reason other than it's just Saturday. So every Wednesday and every Saturday from now until June 7th, bonus bet for no reason. So I tried to take advantage of it last night, and Bam.
I lost the 2-game parlay.
Yeah, Bam didn't get a double-double. Damn, 2 rebounds.
Celtics -8.
Yeah, I was trying to go a little plus money because it was a bonus bet for no reason other than I logged in on Wednesday. So I tried to go a little plus money there with a Bam Adebayo double-double. Didn't get it. That's okay. I got it on Saturday last week. So just log in your BetMGM app on Saturday, and you're going to get a free bonus bet for no reason right there with BetMGM. So take advantage of that every Wednesday and Saturday through June 7th. So, Zach, the question we've asked is, which Titans wide receiver will have the biggest impact this season behind Traylon Burks? What are the comments saying?
Let's see. Let's go to the comments. We'll start off with Timothy. Timothy says, nobody.
Somebody will. The biggest impact of the group doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a big impact overall, but it is the biggest.
And this is wide
relative
receiving core, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
no Chig.
Right. So we're going to have to omit the Chigs.
Yep.
Chig is the obvious answer because he made some plays last year. We wouldn't give you that. These aren't rhetorical questions. Austin and I think harder than that. Sam, Austin and I get on pre-show conversation. We're like, we're not going to set up the chat just to say Chig, 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 Chig. We're going to set them up to actually think. Steven says NWI, Phillips from Brock, Chris Moore from Maven. Look, 3 different ones. We got a nobody again. No one from Anthony. The waiver wire from Andre. This is pretty good.
So that's just basically saying the field.
Right? Chris Moore from Eric. Chris Moore from Michigan Titan. Kyle Phillips from Mark. Kyle Phillips from DeMarco. Nobody from Scary. Harry. Kyle Phillips from Jimbo. Chris Moore guaranteed. NWI, no doubt. Kyle Cup from Stephen King. Cooper Cup's younger brother, Kyle. I don't know. If he could play, put him in, coach. NWI from Rooney. Phillips, I hope. More from Pastor Raymond. And Pastor Raymond actually said this earlier that I saw. Mm-hmm. I'm waning on this, but I still have some hope. You think that the Titans are going to do something for their wide receiver core. You think that they're going to help. I think it's waning, though, right? The time goes by and the bodies, they're just not there. Austin, where are you? Also, before you answer, let's get to some super chat comments.
Yeah, I was going to get to the super chats as well. So
you can do that.
Callan says, Burks is the only wide receiver that can instill any bit of fear in a defense. He goes down for any chunk of time. Titans are picking top 10 again. And, well, they weren't picking top 10, but close. And Levis better get a lot of reps. Go get, I think, Jarvis Landry is who he's talking about for depth. I did see some Instagram account said, oh, Jarvis Landry and the Titans could be a good fit. I don't want any part of Jarvis Landry. Sounds like, Andre Johnson part 5. And then Kane says,
hopefully he won't quit on the team.
Yeah, right. Kane says the Titans treat the wide receiver position like a Walmart greeter. Nice to have, but not really important. I mean, that's not untrue, it seems like, from Kane. So, Zach, my answer is Chris Moore. I think Chris Moore behind Burks will be the second leading wide receiver in the stat boxes, right? Like, So I think by default, that means he'll have the second biggest impact of any wide receiver. So I think, if you're going to put, me on the podium and ask me, hey, name the top 4 receivers or pass catchers this season, I think Burks is 1, Chig's probably 2. I think Chris Moore is that second wide receiver to fill up the stats. He's just a veteran. He plays multiple positions. I watched him on Tuesday, and me and Sam talked the day after, and I thought Chris Moore looked more smooth and more, nuanced and skilled at the position than I was really expecting him to look before I went out there. So I think Chris Moore looked good in his shorts and jersey and his helmet on Tuesday. Obviously, he has to continue to do a lot more, but Chris Moore is my pick for biggest impact behind Treylon Burks.
I think that's fair. I think there's some intrigue from me with Chris Moore. There's not a lot of expectations, to be honest, from Chris Moore. I've got to see it to believe it. I am actually going to go with a lot of what the chat said. And there's an ifs and buts, beers and nuts. We can have a party. He has to stay healthy. But I think the connection between Ryan Tannehill and Kyle Phillips will be that number 2 wide receiver, because I just think he'll get more opportunity. He'll get more targets. Ryan Tannehill will be more willing to pass the ball to Kyle Phillips on underneath routes, quick out routes, where you've got Kyle Phillips in the slot. He goes straight to the sideline. Wide receiver goes up. You catch the ball. You make one guy miss, and you can start making some plays. If you don't make one guy miss, there's 4 yards. There's 2 games from Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. There's 6 games with comparable ability with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. I think the biggest question for Kyle Phillips is obviously his health, his stamina, his size. Can he get hit? This league is unrelenting. That is the word, the one word from this league. And Kyle Phillips has got to be able to do it all. Tannehill and Kyle Phillips, I believe we saw a connection. We didn't get to experience the full connection, right? Now I believe that is going to happen. Kyle Phillips, I have high expectations going into year 2. Treylon Burks, the year 2 guys.
Yeah.
Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips. Chris Moore, I just think Kyle Phillips has a higher ceiling than Chris Moore. That's what I'm betting on.
Okay. All right. So I was actually a part of the media scrum with Kyle Phillips when he was asked a lot about the issues, right? The staying healthy, the can you do it consistently? And here's what Kyle Phillips had to say on Tuesday.
You ever gone through anything like that before?
I have not. Haven't really had many injuries, and so it was real frustrating when it happened. But got a great support group, bunch of good guys around me, and kept my head high, and just controlling what I can control. And so I was just in the weight room, getting bigger, focusing on learning defenses, learning the offense a little bit more, and
How much bigger did you get?
I added probably around 7 pounds so far. I'm gonna keep trying to add more, but like I've told everyone else, I want to do it smart, do it slow, add good clean weight, make sure I can stay fast, stay quick.
Is the hope that adds a little bit of protection maybe too, or
Yeah, I would say so a little bit. Should add a little bit of armor, and obviously everyone in the NFL is a little bigger, faster, stronger, so it just helps with my play style as well.
How much are you chomping at the? I mean, you had a really good training camp, you had a good first game, and then all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah.
How much are you chomping at the bit to show that that's who you can be in this league all the time?
Yeah, no, I'm real excited. This whole offseason's kind of all I've been thinking about is getting back to playing football, playing games, and actually playing in moments when it matters. So I'm very excited for it.
He says he's gained 7 pounds of muscle, right? Just 7 pounds. I mean, the dude is little, right? I mean, you just look at the comments that came in from Omar says his arms look a little bigger. Jake says that I could probably take him. He's definitely more athletic than me. No doubt about it. Jimmy says he's painfully thin. Ken says still looks like he needs to eat a little bit. And Jameson says he's calling
How much
BS.
does he weigh?
He's listed at 5'11", 189.
That's new list. So is
No,
that with the 7 pounds?
That's the same. I remember because, I got my roster. He's 5'11", 189. That's the same height weight he was last year's roster.
He's probably 195.
Maybe, right? But again, he's just a small frame. Like there's only like he's
There's not a lot of places the weight can go.
right. Like it's literally like on his, I mean, he needs obviously, chest, shoulders, arms. I think lower body is where the legs can go, and you can't. Top tier said he's 187 yesterday. I mean, he's probably in that 180. I don't think he's 190. I mean, he's just so like narrow. He's just not a broad, thick person. And so there's, like you're saying, there's not a lot of weight to add other than just
55-pound middle linebacker hits you right in the chest, you're going to go down.
Yeah. And like, he's got no fat on him either. Like, Jameson says, he goes, I'm 5'9" and 185. Yeah. But Jameson, like, you're not out there, running up and down and making cuts. And like, again, like weight distribution for normal people, NFL players and athletes are just completely different.
Well, and look, everybody looks at Wes Welker and being like, well, look at how long, like he was tiny, he was small, he was able to play for a long period of time. Now, I think he got more concussions than, I don't think Wes Welker would have played the games that he played in today's age because they weren't checking concussions as much. But I do think that within this offense, Kyle Phillips makes a lot of sense, but he has to prove it, right? You can't be sans Adam Humphries, right? Like Adam Humphries was a huge disappointment in Tennessee.
Yeah.
He was paid a lot of money and he really never worked out anywhere else. Kyle Phillips has got to prove to the team, the fan base, everybody that he can play in this league. He hasn't done that yet. Treylon Burks, even with his injuries, has proved, I think, to me, that Treylon Burks can play in this league. There's a reason why he was drafted in the first round. This is not one of those like Corey Coleman or Bashard Perriman's like, I don't know. This is Treylon Burks, I believe, can play. We'll see if he can thrive. Kyle Phillips still has to prove to me. I think he has all of the makeup. He can. I just got to see it.
Yeah. For the record, Julian Edelman is listed at 198. So 5'10", 198. Kyle Phillips.
That's why I didn't say Julian Edelman because I knew he was bigger. And he had muscle. I mean, Julian Edelman was
it's just not even about muscle. It's just about body stature. It's just Kyle Phillips is a thin person. He's just not broad. He's not thick. And he's just narrow. And will it help him slide through some defenders? Maybe. But again, we'll see. What?
Timothy says my sister is bigger than Kyle.
A lot of people are bigger than Kyle Phillips.
A lot of people. Well, I mean, I'm bigger than Kyle. Doesn't mean I can play football, but like he and the speed. I think he brought this up, and I'm glad that Phillips said this in the answer. He has to retain his speed.
Yes.
If you are a slower slot guy that is bigger, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, you have to retain your best attribute, which is quickness and route running without, by getting bigger. All right. So I thought Kyle Phillips could have been my answer, but there was one reason why I did not answer this question with Kyle Phillips. And I'll get to that. But first, Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. Kyle Phillips can fit in any size SUV, four-door sedan. I mean, the Ioniq, which is a smaller vehicle, Kyle Phillips can get from A to B. And you know what? Retaining speed is not a problem from the electric nature of the Ioniq. You got to check this bad boy out. This thing is powered up. It is cost efficient. It's fuel efficient because it doesn't use fuel. It uses battery. But check out the Ioniq if you're looking to change from a fuel-powered vehicle to an electric-powered vehicle, battery-powered, baby. And you can also check out the full-size SUV. This, you talk about room for Kyle Phillips. It's got room for about 12 Kyle Phillips. That's the Palisade. Full-size SUV, third-row seating, all the bells and whistles. Check it out and test drive one of these vehicles today at Wilson County Hyundai.
Who wants bonus bets from BetMGM? You can play it this way. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, sign up for BetMGM today. Use our code ATOZ Sports. That means you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Then every Saturday and Wednesday until June 7th, you log on to the app, free bonus bet for no reason other than it's Wednesday or Saturday. So that's how you can play the game right there and get as many bonus bets as possible with BetMGM. So make sure you check that out. Log in tomorrow to get a free bonus bet right there every Wednesday and Saturday through June 7th. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New and existing customer offer. All promotions, certain qualifications, eligible requirements. Rewards issued with non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So, Zach, we asked the question, which Titans receiver will have the biggest impact behind Treylon Burks? I answered Chris Moore. I did not answer Kyle Phillips. The reason why I didn't go with Kyle Phillips is because I don't know what his snap share is going to be in this offense. Because Kyle Phillips, as we've been talking about the last several minutes, is a slot receiver. He's not going to play a lot on the outside. He is undersized, and so you have to use him in very specific situations. And I still, until I see it consistently, I still think the Tennessee Titans are going to be a 2 tight end, Derrick Henry, and 2 wide receiver type of offense. And that's what I feel like they're putting together with Chig and Josh Wiley and maybe some of the other tight ends there. So that's why I went with Chris Moore. That was my tiebreaker. I just think Chris Moore and NWI are probably going to get more snaps than Kyle Phillips, which means they're probably going to get more targets. And so until Tim Kelly shows they're going to run a lot more three wide receiver personnel sets, then I think he can have an impact. I like Kyle Phillips. It's just, is it the square peg round hole type of deal? And what is the volume they're going to be?
Yeah, you mentioned Wiley. How much is he going to play, right? Like, we don't know. My X factor that went the other way for Kyle Phillips, Tannehill. Tannehill likes Kyle Phillips.
Sure.
That's been proven. You said that all training camp last year. We saw that in game 1 against the Giants. And you know what? Who has all say? I'll say Ryan Tannehill. If Ryan Tannehill goes to Tim Kelly or Mike Vrabel and says, I like Kyle Phillips, or has any success with Kyle Phillips is going to be on that damn football
field. All right.
Field.
Yeah. So Ryan Tannehill says, Coach, I need more 18 in my life out there on the field. And Tim Kelly says, okay, we'll put 18 on the slot on 1st and 10, but we'll run Derrick Henry towards the left guard. And then if Derrick Henry bounces it out, do you think Kyle Phillips is going to be okay to sit there and be in front of Derrick Henry? There's a catch-22 here, right? That's the whole thing. And we talked about this Monday when me and Sam were on the show with Greg Cosell's comments about Derrick Henry. It's, to an extent, can you have a lot of Derrick Henry and a lot of Kyle Phillips?
I think we'll have less Derrick Henry as we move forward in life. And this is just a cold, hard truth. You're going to have less Derrick Henry. You're not going to have as much Derrick Henry as you had Derrick Henry when you had Derrick Henry when you was 2020.
I know, but like less Derrick Henry with these weapons.
That's what Tim Kelly was paid for, though.
I know, but like this, and again, it's so ridiculous because if you were planning on having less Derrick Henry this year, then you probably need a lot more wide receiver help to go along with it.
And look, John Doe also brings up this point. Tannehill doesn't have a choice but to like Kyle Phillips because of the lack of the options. He doesn't have, there's not many people that you can like when you're looking around this wide receiver room. I don't know who it's going to be, but they have to add somebody.
It's like,
Austin, if Treylon Burks goes down, the Titans are going to be picking 11.
It's like, it's funny because I don't dislike any of the Titans receivers individually. Like, I don't dislike, I like the idea.
But you don't love them.
I don't love them with where they're going to be positioned. Like, they need
you
to
don't
all
love
be.
Them.
No,
that tells you everything you need to know, though. Treylon Burks, you're trying to fall in love with. You're starting to fall in love with. But none of the other wide receivers, you walk past them at a bar. You don't love them. You barely like them. You're not even trying to get to know them that much.
They all need to be knocked down one spot on the depth chart, and then that's fine.
But there's nobody to
elevate up. Right, because it's like, NWI. No, I get it. He's reliable. He knows a playbook. He's a good blocker. He can make plays in situations. We've seen that, right? I like him as a 4. Well, what about as a 3? No. What about as a 2 where he's been? Absolutely not. I like Kyle Phillips, but he's more of a specialty player. I like Chris Moore as a 3, but right now he's the 2. And, I like Racey McMath as a gunner on punt coverage and maybe a deep threat every once in a while. That's about it. And so, but he's right now wide receiver 5. And I like Mason Kinsey on the practice squad because he works hard. That's where I like the Titans receivers, but they're all at least one notch above where I just said they are.
I think it's tough to look around the league and some of the wide receiving cores, and sit there and you compare them. Like how does Lamar Jackson have the wide receivers that man has?
Because the
like
Ravens,
the Baltimore Ravens should win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, because
they got Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Bateman. They've got Odell Beckham, like J.K. Dobbins in the backfield, and Lamar Jackson. That offense should be electric.
Because they win all in.
The Titans can't sniff any of those guys.
Because the Ravens picked a direction and went all in with it. The Titans have picked two directions, and they're like trying to play both sides.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right? That's what you get. Them's the results. You don't pick a side.
This is where I'm with Pistol. Like how, why?
Yeah.
The Ravens really blow my mind. You look at, because they drafted Zay Flowers, and I think you were too. I was very high on Zay Flowers. I thought he didn't last to the second round.
I think the problem the problem with the Ravens receivers is that they've tried to draft Zay Flowers before in Hollywood Brown. They've tried to draft Zay Flowers in the third round with Devin Duvernay. They've tried to draft Zay Flowers several times, and it hasn't worked yet.
They didn't get all back for Hollywood Brown, but at least they got something for Hollywood Brown.
And, one guy we didn't mention, the Titans drafted Colton Dowell. We haven't said Colton Dowell's name once. But again, look, he's a seventh-round rookie. But,
56 minutes in, we shouldn't say Colton Dowell. Come on,
that's
guys.
That's about when he was
picked.
Don't
Trey McBride ourselves. We've learned.
The 56th minute of our show is comparable to the 228th pick of the NFL draft.
Colton Dowell.
Hey, he's 6'2", 215, and can run. There's something. And he can jump.
His ceiling is Tajay Sharp.
They're different players, but I get the ceiling of production. I get what you're saying. They're different style receivers.
And Tajay was not great, but
as a fifth round pick. He served a purpose. All right. A to Z Sports here live on this Friday. Zach, we're heading into a 3-day weekend. Everybody rejoice with Memorial Day weekend. Let's wrap this thing up with Ain't That Good News. And I'll tell you guys some good news. Krebs Kubota, they are fantastic at what they do, and they need to be your equipment provider for anything you have going on in your property, any application, any project you have. If you just need a mower, maybe you got a tricky yard to cut. Maybe you got some goofy hills and some spots that might be a little dangerous and you're not sure what type of mower you need. Krebs Kubota got you covered. Maybe you have a lot bigger projects. Maybe you've got some small crops, a garden, or maybe you're working on some other things with bigger land. Krebs Kubota has everything you need from equipments, from big to small applications, and they've got the best equipment in the industry with the Kubota brand and the best customer service in the industry. That's where the name Krebs comes in. They've been serving Middle Tennesseans for over 18 years, 3 locations, great for you, Columbia, Franklin, Murfreesboro. Check them out online, KrebsKubota.com.
A to Z Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. You can get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses, if you are a new user, and if you use the promo code ATOZ Sports. You see that bonus code right down there at the bottom of the screen, ATOZ Sports. Get hooked up. Let's get hooked up with some good news.
News on a Friday. Everybody fill up the chat with your good news. Ain't That Good News sends us to the weekend every Friday here on A to Z Sports, and we want to share the good. Zach, I'll have you fly into the comment section to see what the good news is from the chat to get us started.
So let's see. Good news. Big Ten Jeff. Good news. 4-day weekend thanks to Memorial Day. So back down at Disney after 2 months away. So
2 months. 2 months is too long for Big Ten Jeff from Disney.
Back to old Epcot right there. Danny, 18-year-old and second born, walks the stage tomorrow. Danny, congratulations to your son and daughter. I mean, right there. That's awesome. Start a summer internship with the forestry service next week for college in the fall. Ain't that good news? So congratulations to your 18-year-old. That's a proud father right there. Good news from Timothy. Dropped Xfinity, switched to Glow Fiber and Sling, and saved $120 per month.
Hashtag ad.
Tone's got a job promotion. Starts Tuesday. Last day today, moving to another building. There you go. Promotion for Tones. That's also great news. Good news as we go through. Jay says, I've got good news. His lady is pregnant, but my wife hasn't found out yet. That's great. So, you've kind of saved yourself right there. Devin says, my ex-wife is still my ex-wife. That's good news for old Devin. Keeping the exes. Jason says, good news. I'll be in Nashville next weekend for a huge sports business job fair at Titan Stadium. I saw that they were having that. So that's good networking right there. John Doe says, good news. We're looking like you could have a top 5 pick next year just so you can draft another quarterback and still not have any wide receivers. So some sarcasm there. Good news is simple. A long weekend from Borkington. It is Memorial Day weekend. So obviously we hope everybody stays safe because, that's always a time for fun and laughter and play. Jesse says, oldest daughter turned 13. So happy birthday to Jesse's oldest daughter. Who's
teenage
13.
dad,
that is
right? Teenage dad.
That's Jesse's dad. No,
it's
Jesse's the father.
Jesse's girl. I mean, Jesse's
girl. Yeah, that's where I was going, but I had it.
Different meaning, but it works.
Damn, that is Jesse's girl. It's a different meaning though. Aaron says, good news, having to go to the movies all weekend and got pay-per-view event to watch tomorrow afternoon. So tons of good news. Austin, what is your good news?
Yeah, well, Aaron brings something up too, and I don't know. Maybe part of my good news is that I can do it this weekend. Have you watched Air yet? The movie Air?
No, it was one of those movies where it's like, when it first came out, I was like, that looks stupid. It looks like a poorly made film. And then the reviews came out and it was like, oh my gosh, this is a great film. But
and the cast is legit, right? And so like I've been wanting to watch Air, and Aaron made me think of it. Maybe I can do it this weekend with a long weekend. So maybe I'll cue that up. But my good news, Zach, and it's just something that feels good, is that I didn't cut the grass for almost 3 weeks, Zach. And then this week I cut the grass, I trimmed the yard, we did some other things in the backyard, and it just feels so much better to go out there and cut the grass and feel good about it. So now I can use the backyard this weekend and not have to worry about, itchy grass on my ankles or mosquitoes flying around. So my good news, finally cut the grass after a long, long time. And we got a great backyard to go hang out in. Hopefully the weather cooperates. So cutting the grass feels good to me. At least, I know you don't cut your grass, but my good news is I finally got out there and did it, and it feels so much better.
Yeah, I cut grass when I was a kid for a long time, and I probably got burnt out. So there's been a period of time where I don't cut grass, but it doesn't mean that I can't cut grass eventually. So, but I understand the feeling.
Yeah,
you put in your headphones, you can do whatever you want. Nobody messes with you.
And then you just stand there and look at it. You stand there and look at it, you're like, yeah, that does look good. That's right.
Here's one. Scary Harry says, good news that he's getting healthier after his heart ablation that had his heart beating normal for once in a long time. So that's great news to get your health back. So I feel like I'm at this stage of like later in life where people are, getting married. You have like a section of your friends that get married in their 20s. But my good news is I went on 2 bachelor parties back to back. One of my best friends from high school is getting married this weekend in Nashville. And this is one of the best parts about a wedding, of a bachelor party that you went to. I became friends, and I knew some of his friends, but like his other friends. And now they've become my friends. And so now I send them Instagram stuff and funny stuff, and we text. And I haven't seen them in a month, right? And so all of the guys that I've made friends with at the bachelor party are now coming to like the welcome party tonight, the wedding tomorrow. And so I get to see my new friends. I'm kind of like a kid in candy store.
No, I get it. Totally get it.
I love meeting new people. It's just a thing that I have. And now I've got my buds that I don't get to see, that I've just kind of rekindled this friendship back after a hiatus of a month or so. I had one text me this morning, like, I can't wait to see you this afternoon. Like it's kind of fun. It's like,
No, I totally relate to that. Totally relate. And then you're probably not gonna see him for like another like 5 years.
exactly. And that's unfortunate.
But that's okay too. It's also okay.
Well, I will say this. One of my buddies, one of his buddies that is now my buddies, it's his buddy. He lives in New York, huge Knicks fan, has season tickets to the Knicks. I told him I'm coming to Madison Square Garden next year. I don't know when or how, but that's going to be the connection because you're right. If you don't do that, you don't see him for 5
But
years.
you always make plans with those people. And then like, what's the conversion rate of those plans?
Right? I will go to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Because now I have like skin in the game. I want that experience,
True.
right?
Yep, no doubt. All right, guys. Hope everybody has a safe weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So we'll be off on Monday, but we'll be back at it on Tuesday. Big week. Titans back on the practice field on Wednesday. So we'll have a lot more content up on the YouTube channel and everywhere else to react to as well. But make sure you like the show before you go. Give us that thumbs up. There's always more people watching that have liked the show on Facebook and on YouTube. So we appreciate you guys doing that. That just makes our conversation bigger and better with everybody as we continue to follow the Titans throughout this offseason. And we'll see you guys on a Tuesday. Have a safe weekend. Appreciate it as always.